For many years, certain manufacturers seemed almost unbeatable. Brands like Volkswagen, Audi, and Mercedes-Benz built their reputations by producing cars that people genuinely aspired to own. But lately, I've started noticing something interesting. There are a number of cars from these established heritage brands that don't seem to be getting the same level of market traction you might expect. Some have become incredibly expensive, some are being undermined by the used car market, some are caught in segments that consumers are slowly moving away from, and others simply have stronger competition within their own class. Now, before anyone jumps into the comments, this isn't a video about bad cars. In fact, every car we're discussing today is objectively a good product. The question is whether they are still compelling enough to convince buyers to part with their money. Today, we're taking a look at a few cars that appear to be struggling in the South African market, and more importantly, why. Before we proceed with the video, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel to help me grow and so you don't miss out on future videos. First in line is the VW Golf 8.5 GTI. For decades, the GTI has been the attainable dream car. It was quick enough to be exciting, practical enough to use every day, and expensive enough to feel special without being completely out of reach. Back in 2014, if you were earning around 25,000 to 30,000 rands per month and had your finances in order, a brand new Golf 7 GTI was something you could realistically aspire to own. Today, things look very different. The Golf 8.5 GTI now retails at 908,000 rands. Once you factor in finance, insurance, fuel, and general running costs, you are realistically looking at a monthly commitment of around 20 to 22,000 rands. To comfortably absorb that kind of expense, you probably need to be earning somewhere around 60 to 80,000 rands per month, depending on your financial obligations, of course. And that's the first major problem. The GTI customer has changed. The average enthusiast who grew up dreaming about owning a GTI can no longer afford a new one. The car has effectively priced itself out of reach for many of the people who helped build its reputation in the first place. Now, yes, I've seen a few Golf 8.5 GTIs on South African roads since launch, but nowhere near the numbers we became accustomed to with previous generations. And there are some interesting signs that suggest demand may not have been quite as strong as Volkswagen expected. When VW South Africa launched the Golf 8.5 GTI in late 2025, we were told that approximately 300 pre-spec'd units would be allocated to the market during the final quarter of the year. These cars came generously equipped with features such as LED plus headlights, a sunroof, adaptive cruise control, and various other options. The plan, as we understood it, was that once 2026 arrived, normal production would begin and customers would be able to spec and order their vehicles more freely. But what ended up happening is quite interesting. It appears that those initial 300 units are effectively what the market received. Now, there could be several reasons for this. Perhaps Volkswagen wanted to test demand, perhaps they wanted to create a sense of exclusivity, or perhaps demand simply wasn't as strong as anticipated. Whatever the reason may be, if you search online today, you'll find numerous brand new Golf 8.5 GTIs sitting at dealerships across the country. What's even more telling is the pricing. The official retail price is 908,000 rands. Yet, many dealers are advertising these cars for significantly less. Some examples can be found for around 830,000 rands brand new. And when a vehicle starts being discounted this heavily so soon after launch, it usually tells you something about the state of demand. And while I was working on this video, I came across another interesting development. A VW dealership posted a promotional offer on social media advertising brand new Golf 8.5 GTIs for 799,000 rands, provided customers made use of the dealership's in-house finance offering. Now, to be fair, manufacturer-backed promotions and dealer incentives are nothing new. These campaigns can be used for a variety of reasons, and they don't automatically mean a vehicle is selling poorly. However, when you combine this with the number of cars still available at dealerships, the discounts already being offered below retail price, and the fact that we're talking about a GTI that only recently arrived on the market. It certainly raises some interesting questions about demand, because historically GTIs have rarely needed this level of discounting so early in their life cycle. And whether you view it as a sales strategy, a finance incentive, or an effort to stimulate demand, one thing is clear: the market appears to be resisting the Golf 8.5 GTI's original 908,000 Rand asking price. The reality is that the Golf 8.5 GTI is expensive, very expensive. To put it into perspective, when the Golf 8 GTI launched in 2021, the starting price was approximately 660,000 Rands. That means the facelifted Golf 8.5 GTI arrived with a price increase of nearly 250,000 Rands. And remember, this isn't an entirely new generation. It's still the same Golf 8 platform underneath, which brings us to another major problem facing modern performance cars. Manufacturers often seem to price vehicles without fully considering what exists on the used car market. And there is no better example of this than the Audi S3. The S3 you're seeing on screen is the pre-facelift. Just imagine it's the facelift. The new Audi S3 starts at just over 1,090,000 Rands for the Sportback and around 1.1 million Rands for the sedan. However, once you start adding options, many examples are listed at around 1.2 million Rands. Now allow me to cook for a moment, because this is where things become very interesting. Go onto the used car market and search for Audi RS3s around the 1.2 million Rand mark. You'll be surprised by what you find. There are numerous low mileage examples available. Most of them may be pre-facelift cars, but they are still RS3s. And if you're willing to stretch slightly further, there are even facelift demo models appearing around the 1.3 million Rand mark. When you're financing a car in this price bracket, the monthly repayment difference between 1.2 million Rands and 1.3 million Rands isn't nearly as dramatic as people think. So now I have a question. Would you rather buy a brand new 2026 Audi S3 with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine producing 245 kilowatts of power, or would you rather buy a slightly used RS3 with a 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine producing 294 kilowatts of power? Let me know in the comments, because I think I already know what most of your answers will be. And this same issue applies to the Golf 8.5 GTI. For 908,000 Rands, you could buy a slightly used Golf 8 GTI, a Golf 7.5 TCR, a Golf 7.5R, or even a Golf 8R and still save yourself hundreds of thousands of Rand. Some of those cars offer more performance, some offer all-wheel drive, some have already taken their biggest depreciation hit, and naturally, consumers start asking themselves important financial questions. Am I really missing out on that much by buying the older car? Is the new one worth the additional 200 or 300,000 Rands? These are real questions people ask when spending this kind of money. Now, somebody watching this might say, yes, but the new car comes with a full warranty and maintenance plan. And that's a completely valid point. But let me share a simple trick. Let's go back to the S3 versus RS3 example. A lot of people are scared of buying used performance cars because they are worried about maintenance costs. Here's what I would do. If you're planning to buy an RS3 for around 1.2 million Rands and your projected installment is roughly 24,000 Rands per month, spend 3 months putting that exact amount into a dedicated savings account before buying the car. After 3 months, you'll have approximately 72,000 Rands saved. Leave that money untouched. That becomes your maintenance fund. Tires covered. A service covered. Unexpected expenses covered. And if you save for 6 months instead of 3, your buffer becomes even larger. I'm not saying this eliminates every risk associated with buying a used performance car, but it certainly provides some peace of mind and creates a financial safety net that many people never consider. Now let's move away from performance cars and talk about another vehicle that appears to be struggling for a completely different reason. The CLE effectively replaced both the C-Class Coupe and E-Class Coupe. Mercedes merged those two products together and created a single model that combines elements of both segments. On paper, it actually makes a lot of sense. You get attractive styling, modern technology, luxury, refinement, and a premium badge. The problem is not necessarily the car itself. The problem is the market. People simply aren't interested in coupes and convertibles the way they used to be. Everyone wants an SUV. Whether it's practicality, family requirements, visibility, road presence, or simply following trends, SUVs have become the default choice for many buyers. As a result, vehicles like the CLE now occupy a very small niche. And while I don't have the official sales figures, one observation I've made is that I seem to see far more BMW 4 Series models on South African roads than I do CLEs. That suggests BMW may be enjoying greater success in this segment. Interestingly, Mercedes-Benz South Africa has also reduced pricing on certain CLE models, which could indicate that sales haven't quite met expectations. And finally, let's talk about the Audi Q7. This one is fascinating because compared to the BMW X5 and Mercedes GLE, the Q7 seems almost invisible. You rarely see them on the road. The new ones, that is. Now, I don't think this is because the Q7 is a bad product. Far from it. The problem is that buyers in this segment seem to prefer its competitors. The BMW X5 has become incredibly popular. Meanwhile, the Audi Q7 sits quietly in the background. Part of the issue could be pricing. The Q7 is generally more expensive than both the X5 and GLE, and it's also offered with fewer engine options, particularly when compared to the BMW. With the X5, buyers have access to a wider range of engines, including highly desirable diesel options that continue to appeal to South African consumers. So when people compare the available choices, many simply end up choosing the BMW. Just count the number of X5s you see on Gauteng roads compared to Q7s, and you'll quickly understand what I'm talking about. And that brings us to the bigger picture. The funny thing is that none of these cars are bad. The Golf GTI is still a fantastic hot hatch. The Audi S3 is still seriously quick. The Mercedes CLE is certainly beautiful, and the Audi Q7 remains a capable luxury SUV. But being a good car is no longer enough. If your pricing is too aggressive, buyers start looking at the used market. If consumer tastes shift, entire segments can become niche overnight. And if your rivals offer more compelling packages, people simply spend their money elsewhere. The reality is that consumers today are more informed than ever before. They are not just comparing cars, they are comparing monthly repayments, depreciation, value for money, and alternative options. And that's exactly why some of the cars that used to dominate their segments are now struggling to find buyers. And as always, let me know what you think. Which cars do you think are struggling to sell in South Africa? And more importantly, why? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.